Good day to each and every one of you, especially to your mom and to my dear classmates. Good morning. So, let's tackle about historiography. So, what is historiography? Historiography is called the study of writing history. It covers how historians have studied and developed history, including its sources, techniques, and theoretical approaches. Historiography refers to the study of historical writing and the different methods historians use to interpret and present history. It is not just about what happened in the past, but about how historians have recorded, analyzed, and debated historical events over time. So, historiography examines first is the sources historians use. Second is the perspectives and biases in historical interpretations. And third, the changing methods of writing history across different time periods. So, why is historiography important? There are four important things that you need to know. First is that historiography understands bias and perspectives. Every historian has their own viewpoint, and historiography helps us recognize biases in historical accounts. Next is it evaluates sources. It teaches us to critically assess the reliability and credibility of historical sources. Third, it tracks changes in historical thought. Historians interpret events differently over time, and historiography helps us see how these perspectives evolves. And lastly, it identifies historical trends. It helps us understand patterns and recurring themes in history, which can provide insights into the present and future. Next is positivism. It is the school of thought or philosophy that emerged between 18th and 19th century. It requires empirical and observable evidence before one can claim that a particular knowledge is true. It emphasizes that empirical or based on observation or experience and observable evidence is required before claiming that any knowledge is true. Positivism and history are connected because positivism changed how historians study and interpret the past. Before positivism, history was often written with a lot of opinions, legends, or even moral lessons. But when positivism became popular, historians started treating history more like a science. They focus on facts, not opinions. Evidence like documents, artifacts, and records, cause and effect relationships like how one event lead to another. In short, positivism made historians work like detectives. They had to prove what happened with real evidence instead of just telling stories or relying on myths. So next is post-colonialism. Post-colonialism is a school of thought or philosophy that emerged in the early 20th century when formerly colonized nations grappled the idea of creating their identities and understanding their societies against the shadows of their colonial past. Post-colonialism is a school of thought that emerged mainly in the early 20th century. It focuses on how countries that were once colonized by European powers like Britain, France, Spain, and many more struggled to build new identities and understanding their own cultures after centuries of foreign domination. These nations were trying to define themselves beyond the shadows of their colonial past, meaning they had to deal with the long-lasting effects colonialism had on their societies, economies, languages, and political systems. Post-colonialism in history helps us understand why many former colonies still struggle with identity, development, and globalization today. It shows that history doesn't just end with political independence. The psychological, cultural, and economic impacts linger much longer. Now, let's talk about history and historians. Facts cannot speak for themselves. It is the historian's job not to seek historical evidence and facts, but also to interpret them. History is not just about collecting facts, it's about interpreting them. The role of historian analyze evidence, compare different perspectives and construct narratives to explain past events. Different historians may interpret the same event differently based on their backgrounds, ideologies, and sources. As new evidence emerges, historians revise their interpretations, showing that history is not that fixed but constantly evolving. So now let's talk about importance of history. There are five importance, which is first to unite nations, next is to legitimize regime and force a sense of collective identity through collective memory. Next is to make sense of the present. Fourth one is to prevent repeating past mistakes. And fifth, to inspire people to do positive actions. First is to unite nations. History fosters national unity by providing a shared past and collective identity. Learning about historical struggles, achievements, and cultural heritage helps citizens feel connected and patriotic. Next is to legitimize regime and forge a sense of collective identity through collective memory. Governments and societies often use history to justify their rules and strengthen national identity. Collective memory shared stories, symbols, and traditions. It helps people to see themselves as part of a larger historical narrative. The third one is to make sense of the present. Understanding history helps explain current events, political systems, and social structures. For example, studying colonial history can clarify modern economic disparities between nations. Next is to prevent repeating the past mistakes. History teaches valuable lessons by showing the consequences of past actions. Studying events like wars, economic crises, and failed policies helps societies avoid repeating errors. And the last one is to inspire people to do positive action. Historical figures and movements can inspire individuals to bring positive changes. Learning about leaders like Nelson Mandela or movements like the Civil Rights Movement encourages people to fight for justice and progress. So before I end my discussion, let me summarize the importance of historiography and history. First is historiography. Historiography is essential because it teaches us that history is not just a list of facts, but a dynamic field shaped by interpretations and debate. By studying historiography, we gain a deeper understanding of how history is constructed, how perspectives change, and why historical narratives are never truly final. Next is history is not just about the past, it is about understanding the forces that shape our world today. It helps us learn from past successes and failures, preserve cultural identity, develop critical thinking, and make informed decisions. In a rapidly changing world, history remains a crucial tool for understanding human experiences and guiding future progress. Thank you.